In 2022, Germany delivered what it called Europe's most advanced howitzers, each worth 18 million euros. Within 1 month, all of them were out of action in Ukraine. Meanwhile, France sent truck-mounted howitzers that cost 6 million euros each, and they kept firing. They earned a reputation as the nightmare of Russian troops. Ukraine canceled its German contract and bought French systems instead. Simple, mobile, and cheap beat armored, expensive, and complex. How did a truck overwhelm a tank chassis on a modern battlefield? The numbers tell a story nobody expected. One system rolls in on 6 wheels, 17.7 tons of French engineering, built for speed and simplicity. The other arrives on tank tracks, a 55-ton German fortress packed with electronics and armor. Both fire the same NATO standard 155mm shells, but nearly everything else sets them apart. Caesar, the French contender, is mounted on a 6x6 truck chassis, carries a crew of 5, and averages a price tag between 4 million and 6 million euros. It can reach speeds up to 100 kilometers per hour on roads, deploy and fire within 60 seconds, and sustain a rate of 6 rounds per minute. Its open gun platform trades heavy armor for agility, making it easier to move, hide, and repair. Germany's PZH-2000, by contrast, is a tracked behemoth. Developed in the 1990s by Krauss-Maffei, Wegmann, and Rheinmetall, it was designed for survivability under fire, with a fully enclosed, heavily armored turret. The price is over 18 million euros per unit. The PZH-2000 boasts a burst rate of 8 to 10 rounds per minute, a fully automatic loading system, and advanced fire control electronics. It stores around 60 shells inside its armored hull and is built to withstand direct hits that would destroy lighter vehicles. But all this comes at a cost. Mobility is limited to about 60 kilometers per hour, and the complexity of its systems demands constant maintenance. Side by side, the numbers reveal 2 philosophies. France bets on mobility, ease of use, and cost-effectiveness. Germany doubles down on protection, automation, and firepower. On paper, both promise long-range precision and rapid response. But the real question is not which looks better in a brochure, it is which one keeps firing when the shells start flying. Inside Ukraine's maintenance bays, the PZH-2000's promise of automation turned into a daily struggle for survival. Electronics designed for climate-controlled workshops faltered in frontline heat and dust. Fire control computers and diagnostic modules packed into the turret began to overheat after hours of sustained firing. Error codes flashed across screens, sometimes freezing the entire system until a technician could reset the software or physically cool the components. The automatic loading system, once a selling point, became a liability. Its network of sensors, motors, and chain rammers was engineered for precision, but not for the grime and vibration of constant combat. Powder residue from high rates of fire built up in the autoloader's moving parts, causing jams and misfeeds. Ukrainian crews, forced to keep up the tempo, often had to switch to manual loading, slowing their rate of fire and increasing fatigue. Barrels stressed by repeated full-charge shots at maximum range wore out faster than anticipated. Each replacement required depot-level maintenance and a fresh barrel shipped from Germany, a process that could take weeks. Targeting systems battered by shock and overuse lost calibration or failed outright, leaving gunners to rely on backup procedures. With every breakdown, the maintenance crews became the unsung backbone of Ukraine's artillery effort. They scavenged parts where they could, swapped modules between vehicles, and improvised repairs to keep at least a few howitzers in the fight. But every hour spent troubleshooting electronics or clearing a jam was an hour lost on the battlefield. The very features that made the PZH-2000 advanced on paper became its weak points under real fire. Ukrainian gunners pushed the PZH-2000 beyond anything it was built for. Manuals called for 100 rounds per day at most, but crews fired 70, 90, sometimes 150 in a single shift, day after day, week after week. Each mission demanded full charges and maximum range, with barely a pause for cooling or cleaning. Under that kind of pressure, the German howitzers started to unravel. Autoloaders jammed, sensors tripped alarms, and error codes locked out firing cycles. Electronics overheated in the cramped turret, sometimes shutting down entire systems mid-barrage. When a part failed, there was no warehouse of spares waiting at the border. Instead, Ukrainian commanders described a catastrophic situation. Guns were sidelined for want of a single module, and barrels were worn smooth before replacements could arrive. In Lithuania, one PZH-2000 was stripped for parts just to keep others firing. 8 more in Germany were pulled from service and cannibalized to feed the fleet. Maintenance crews became scavengers, swapping out whatever they could, improvising fixes with whatever tools and scraps were on hand. Each breakdown meant another gun lost from the line, another gap in the barrage. As one Ukrainian artillery officer put it, "We needed every gun, but we were running out of ways to keep them alive." The tempo of combat had turned a technological marvel into a logistical nightmare, one breakdown at a time. Over 5 months of relentless combat, the numbers told a clear story. More than 60% of French Caesar howitzers in Ukrainian hands stayed combat-ready, even as the fighting pushed every gun to its limit. 19 of these truck-mounted guns fired over 40,000 rounds, an average of more than 2,000 shells each, across 2 brutal years on the front. Less than 10% were lost or permanently out of action, a survival rate 2 to 3 times better than other Western 155mm systems. France's defense ministry called Caesar's failure rate a third lower than its competitors. Ukrainian gunners described the difference in simple terms. The Caesar's wheeled chassis let them shoot and relocate in under 2 minutes, dodging Russian counter-battery fire before enemy drones could lock on. Crews praised the ease of field repairs. A damaged wheel could be swapped roadside, and the gun's semi-automatic loader kept working even after days of high-volume fire. One artilleryman called it a nightmare for Russians, explaining that its speed, range, and reliability let them strike and vanish before return fire could arrive. Every statistic pointed to the same conclusion. Simplicity kept the Caesar in the fight. While complex systems broke down or waited for spare parts, the French truck howitzer kept rolling, firing, and surviving. On Ukraine's front lines, the gun that worked was the gun that mattered most. Inside Ukraine's defense ministry, the numbers coming back from the front lines forced a reckoning. After weeks of field reports and maintenance logs, procurement officials weighed the evidence against billions in potential spending. On paper, Germany's PZH-2000 had been cleared for a massive expansion, 100 new howitzers, a 1.7 billion euros package approved by Berlin in July 2022. But as reliability figures trickled in, the deal never advanced beyond signatures. Ukrainian officers, under pressure to keep artillery firing, watched as a proposal for 100 more tracked guns faded from the agenda. The impact rippled outward. Instead of finalizing the German order, Ukraine redirected its focus and funding to systems that had kept up with the war's tempo. The French Caesar, proven in combat and easier to fix, became the centerpiece of a new procurement plan. By early 2024, France had committed to financing an additional 78 Caesar howitzers for Ukraine, a move backed by state guarantees and defense budgets. Production at KNDS, the Franco-German manufacturer, accelerated from a peacetime pace of 2 guns per month to 8, with a target of 12 per month by 2025. This was not just a change in paperwork. The factories in Rouen and Bourges shifted to wartime footing, suppliers ramped up barrel production, and logistics teams planned for steady deliveries to the front. Each new order sent a signal. Operational reliability and resupply speed now outweighed theoretical firepower and armor. For French industry, the Caesar's battlefield record unlocked public financing and export momentum. For Germany, the stalled deal and ongoing maintenance bottlenecks prompted fresh scrutiny of procurement priorities. The decisions made in Ukrainian offices and European ministries shaped not just what rolled off the assembly line, but what survived to fight another day. Today, Ukraine's front lines are shaped by what works, not what dazzles on paper. As armies face relentless attrition, reliability trumps prestige. The lesson echoes across Europe's arsenals. In modern war, the system that survives is the system that matters. What would you choose?